What we want to do right now is take a look at your website pages. What are the website pages that you should have on your site and why? And which content is most important? Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at that. So this is the web page. We're going to look at the web page, content, the structure, the layout, the tabs in order, things like that. And there's, it's true of anything. It's the 80-20 principle. In other words, 20% of the content is essentially responsible for 80% of the value. So it's not the situation where the more various things you have, the better it is. That's not the case at all. You want to be really good at the 20%. In other words, the things that they care the most about, you want to make sure you really are good at it on your website. So having said that, let's walk through this. Let's talk about the header first. Typically the header, and we talked already separately about the colors, the spatial relationship, things like that. And I'm actually going to show you a website template that's a very good chiropractic website template. It just needs some of the wording and some of the tabs changed around a little bit, but the layout is very, very good based on these factors we're getting ready to cover. So when you look at the header, what should be in your header? It should be a professional picture, your office name, your office USP, that's your unique segment position, and your phone number. That's what should be in the header of your website. And we already talked about the colors being blue, royal blue, with white print, an offset of blue. That's the healthcare colors. We talked about the importance of bullets and lists. We talked about the importance of 33% white space, not having paragraph after paragraph after paragraph. So having said that, but that's the header, and it should, now you got to be aware of what's going on right now with websites, that a lot of people don't even have good headers and they don't have this basic information. There's a couple things you need to be aware of. One is that some of the pages, if they're HTML pages, then this will not be seen for SEO purposes, search engine optimization purposes, unless it was purposefully tagged. So that is why we want to use a WordPress website. So when we put in the headers and things like that, it is search engine optimizable. And so we talked about the importance of the location and the industry category, chiropractic, being in your name. And if it's not in your name, it better be in the header. Now, why is that important? Because Google, remember, gives a hierarchy of authority to keywords. So keywords are important, but where the keywords are also important, such as a title, such as a URL, and such as a header. So it is unbelievably important. So remember, when we talk about a website, we're not just talking about the look, the content, but we're also talking about the SEO. So there's three big categories to a website. And remember, it doesn't even matter if nobody sees your website. And essentially what determines if people see your website or how well it's SEO'd, search engine optimized. So we got three factors to consider here. So in the header, you have now pictures have to be tagged. So the Google bots cannot read a picture. So it has to be tagged properly for your keywords. You definitely want to use a professional picture. Don't use a glamour shot. You want a professional picture. Office name. We already talked about the importance of, if you don't have the keyword category or location in your office name, then make sure you put it in that header anyway. So it would be, so-and-so office at, chiropractor in location, whatever. So it's in that header. USP, unique sales position. Remember, people pick based on one of five factors. Trust. In chiropractic, it's trust first. Second is location. Third is price. Fourth is service. And fifth is quality. So you typically want to pick a USP. If you want to focus on auto injury, then you want to pick an auto injury USP. Okay, and then make sure your phone number's there so it's easy access. They can easily find you. So that's the basics of what should at least be in the header. Typically, you can put your icons in the header too, for your Facebook, Instagram, Twitter account, things like that. You can put that in the header. It's not as important because remember, patients read top down, left to right. So what's important is top down, left to right. That's what's important. But that can easily put off to the side or even in the footer. So that is not very important in the header at all. Now, under the header is you want your tab. Now, the tab is what holds the pages. Now, what's important to know about the tab? Well, you need to limit it to 7 categories. Also, it needs to be in the order that the patients want the information. So, why is it limited to 7 categories? Well, once we go past 7, we have a hard time, humans have a hard time focusing and directing. And by the way, that's why Google on their page is very limited options. Now you can click a link or this or that to add more options, but that's why it's very limited in the number of options you have. So you can do sub options and sub options of things like that. But you do not want more than 7 tabs because then it starts creating confusion. So now, not only do you want 7 tabs or less, you want under the header, you want them in order. So what are the most important tabs that we should be paying attention to here? So let's take a look at the 5 most important categories. Now, this is what is called above the fold. Now, this is a real important concept. Matter of fact, I just got off the phone today with one of my clients, website designers, and he put in this thing called a hero page. In other words, it's basically a lot of wasted real estate. It's like a picture. Most of them just put like a picture or something like that. And why it's absolutely wasted is remember, 40% of the people will never scroll down your website. And remember, the average time on a website's like 7 to 9 seconds. People do not go on your website like it's the Smithsonian Institute. So you have to say and show and grab their attention what's most important to them as fast as possible. So what are the 5 most important categories in order? So how you can help. That's the very first thing that better be on the front page of your website is how you help the consumer. Now, the common mistake that is made here is if you have a hero page, a lot of times if there's an empty picture that's essentially worthless. Now you're forcing the person to scroll down, and most of them don't want to. Now you may seem to think this is trivial, but it's not. There's what's called a one-click rule. The goal is to essentially try to have them not have to click anything for what they want. That's the real goal. If they do have to click, you want them to only have to click once, because every time you make somebody go and click another click, like go to a second click or a third click, it significantly drops off. And I'm not talking tapering, and I'm not talking a little. Matter of fact, it's pretty much dead after 3 clicks. 98% of the people won't go past 3 clicks. That's how important this is. So you want everything on that front page, what's called above the fold, the 4 or 5 big categories. So they do not have to scroll down, because they won't. 40% of them won't. Number 2, there should be links of all the big categories right there that they can access immediately. So let's go into some of these big categories. Now so that's the one-click rule. Let's go into the tabs. So the home page, how you can autoplay video with an offer. So remember, the single most important thing that you can do on your home page is have a video there of you, and it's preferably of you. If not, then it's a PowerPoint presentation of you explaining how you can help the person that's searching. Okay. Now, I have that content. Now, the content that I have. Now, remember, in marketing, there's 14 emotional triggers, 14. Some of them are like pleasure, logic, fear, trust, guarantee, limits, things like that. Okay. So remember, the less emotional triggers that you have in an advertisement, the less effective the advertisement's going to be. And there's some things that are way more important in that advertisement than others. Okay. So when you do have that video, it should be the content should be correct. And by the way, I give out that video in a template. So if you're a client of mine, you have that video in a template. Now, the video is generic for pain, muscle spasms, decreased range of motion. Why? Because that's the top 3 symptoms and reasons why people go to a chiropractor. So I won't necessarily say in that video back pain or carpal tunnel okay. So I just would include everything in that video. And how do I include everything? By just saying pain and not saying any other gateways. So I say pain, restrict muscle spasms, and restricted mobility, because that covers many of the gateways. So you don't want to put one gateway in that video. Now, the template that I give you has all 14 emotional triggers. And that's the one I would suggest that you use. And if you don't use it, then shoot a video of you. And it's good to have an offer to get them to take the next step. You should always have a new patient special. And it should be right there on your website, that it's very easy to access. It's very easy to see, and it's very easy to access. As an example, this video would even say that, you could even title it the new patient special, how we can relieve your pain, muscle spasms, and increase your range of motion with our new patient special. See? And then the video should always be in autoplay, because 60% of the people will not press play, believe it or not. So it needs to go in autoplay. Now, the other thing you want to be careful of is you don't want the videos that you embed in your site, you do not want them to be YouTube videos. And the reason is you won't be able to control autoplay unless you use a special code, which makes it much more difficult. And at the end of the YouTube video that's embedded in your site, it'll just list all kinds of other videos of everybody else except you. In other words, they're promoting other people on your site in your embedded video. You don't want that. So it's definitely important to have videos on YouTube for SEO, but you don't want to use the videos on YouTube for your website. What you do is you go to Vimeo and just get a real basic account there. And any videos that you want to use for your promotions and websites that you're not thinking of for consideration for SEO. And you don't want, and you want to be able to control it. I mean, in other words, start it and stop it. You turn it into auto start. And there's no interfering advertisements when it ends. So it's real clean. It sticks with you. It stays with you. Okay. So that's where you want to upload your videos into a small paid account from Vimeo. And those are the videos you upload. Now, typically you'll do both. You'll upload the videos to YouTube for SEO purposes. And then I'll upload what videos I want to use on your website to Vimeo. And then those are the videos I'm going to embed into my website. Excuse me. Okay. So how much? All right. So that's the importance of that video. In other words, right when they go to your site, that video should be front and center above the fold in autoplay, and it should have the 14 emotional triggers of how you can relieve pain, decrease muscle spasms, and increase range of motion with an offer to take the next step. That's like one of the best things you can have on your site right there. All right. So the first tab is the home page. Now let's go into the tabs for just a second. So the second tab, now you remember your tabs are pages. So remember, there's a difference between a blog and a page. We're only talking about your pages right now. So the second tab is how much does it cost? Remember the questions people want. How can you help me? That's the first video. Next thing they want to know is how much does it cost? Well, the very next tab is the cost tab, is insurance and cost FAQ. That's what the tab would say, insurance and cost FAQ. Tab 2. Why? Because that's the next question they have. How much does it cost? Now, these are all individual pages. These are subcategories. So when you click on it, you've got all these options here that are individual pages. And it's obviously nice to have a video explaining, an embedded video explaining how you deal with cash, how you deal with major medical, how you deal with personal injury, all that stuff, okay? And obviously, I would possibly include an offer with that. But you have to address the cost issue. That's the very next thing after, how can you help me? The next thing they're going to go to is, who are you? So it's after they see that you might be able to help them, they'll go to cost. Then after cost, they're going to go, well, who are you? They're going to look for trust. Now, trust is going to be in two venues. First, they're going to look at you. Who are you? So that is a tab. You prefer a video. Now, what should be in that video about you are content, even if it's a screen capture video with just your voiceover. What should be you going through your education, starting with college, your degrees, your certifications, your boards, the 4 major chiropractic boards, your annual continuing hours, and your mission statement. That's what should be. That's the trust category of who you are, because that's what they'll do. They'll go, who is this? And then you have contact information. That's all forms of contact. So typically we'll have one page that has the phone number and address, another page has the hours, and another page, subpage, these are all subpages in the contact information, is the map. So those are the 4 big ones. How can you help me? How much does it cost? Who are you? Trust. And where are you? Those are the 4 most important topics. And if you had nothing else on your website, you'd be fine. That's the 20%. That's the 20/80. That's the 20% of the 20/80 rule right there. Now, the 5th one goes back into the trust category, and it's unbelievably important nowadays, testimonials. And testimonials are way better video. That's why it's so important you get comfortable taking video testimonials. And they just beat to death a little paragraph testimonial with a name on it, text. Those are kind of worthless. There's unbelievable value of having a human being saying, yeah, doctor's good. I like Dr. So-and-so. He helped me. With, a little old lady saying that, or a blue-collar worker saying it. It's unbelievably valuable. Matter of fact, remember, of all 14 emotional triggers in today's world, the one that's single most important is testimonial. Saying, yeah, you can help him. You can trust this guy. He'll help you. It's a single most important thing you can do. So you've got to get comfortable taking patients' testimonials. As a matter of fact, what I do with my clients is once a month, we have what's called Testimonial Day. We set up the video, and typically it's in the x-ray room in a private area. And we'll take one day that's not as busy, and we'll just grab testimonials that day. That's it, once a month, just like that. Unbelievably important, these testimonials. Now, we teach how to do testimonials and all that. The big thing about testimonials is you have to lead the patients. They will not know what to say or what to do, and they won't even want to do a testimonial. So you've got to know how to get testimonials. Of course, we teach that separately. And then you always want the testimonials to be on the gateway, Now, I'm not going to go into too much right now about what should be in a testimonial, because we're talking about website, but we cover that separately. What's the content that should be in a patient testimonial? So These are the absolute most important topics on your website right there. How can you help? It better be like screaming right when you go to that page. I shouldn't have to scroll down. I shouldn't have to click on any other links. Immediately, you should be telling me how you're going to help me with as many of these emotional triggers as possible. So even if you do the video yourself and you don't remember the 14, which you won't, you just make sure you capture the main ones. And of course, the main ones are pleasure, logic, fear, uh, the offer, and the guarantee. Those are the main ones, which are pretty easy to remember. Pleasure, logic, fear, offer, guarantee. I mean, those are the main ones. Okay, so those are the big categories. So if you think about it, you go to the page, there's a video that goes in autoplay. It goes through how you can help, covers all the big categories. And by the way, it has an offer too. So it's already going to deal with the cost question. You should have an offer. The new patient special should be at the end of that. And then the next tab should be the insurance frequent cost and insurance FAQs. And then these are sub pages. So they can just click, immediately it's identifiable. They go, oh, cash, boom. Oh, person owner, click. It's just right there. They can access it real quick as soon as they see it. Okay, and then of course, who are you? And I talked about education, certifications board, continuing education, your mission statement. That's what you should just be on a video saying that. And then contact information. And by the way, we teach how to shoot real simple videos from a webcam to do all this, and where it looks clean. And the big thing about videos is not that you make it look good. You just don't want it to not look good. And we covered how to do that also. So there you are, contact information. Okay, very good. That, if you just left your website like that, you'd be fine. That's it right there. Okay. Now let's go a little further. And so we got contact testimonials. Okay. So let's go into each. Now that I just covered that's the most important topics your website should have right there. Those 5 categories. Now, let's go into each page individually. So let's look at the home page. So when we look at the home page, what should we look at? So the home page will have autoplay video, how you can help relieve the pain with the new patient special, links to all 4 major categories. They should be able to easily see the cost and insurance FAQs, meet the doctor, contact information, all that right there. How do you help? So we'll also have a tab with each that has all the conditions, so they can go into their individual condition. Remember, we're talking about secondary issues now. Secondary. So how do you help? What does it cost? Who are you? Contact information, testimony. So all of this, they should have easy access to right from that first page with one click. That's what should happen without scrolling. Okay, page 2, new patient center, top 4 new pages. So it's the new patient center has, and that's what the tab is. It's the new patient center, and it has the big questions. What to expect on your first visit, cost insurance FAQs, the services you offer, new patient forms. That's what they want. What to expect on your visit. All of these are secondary with the exception of cost insurance friction FAQ. But remember, you have a total separate tab that is cost and insurance FAQ because it's such a big category. It's a huge category. So even if you took it out of this or made it redundant, you're fine. But even if you just left this out of this category, because the tab right next to it is the cost insurance FAQs. So what to expect on your first visit, the services, new patient, that's getting them comfortable, but that's the big one. What to expect on your first, those are secondary. Cost is primary. So we will have a tab just with cost alone. Now it's good to have a tab that says conditions helped. So now again, these are secondary. Remember the 4 categories I covered first are the 4 most important factors. Now when they go deeper, now you should have videos of all the main conditions that you treat. This is pretty much most of the conditions that chiropractors will treat. If you have, if you're treating something in addition to this, go ahead and just add it. And it should be its own separate page, and it should have its own separate video of how you help that problem. And again, we stick with the formula. again, if you're not going to use my template with the 14 emotional triggers, then do a personal video, and you have the bare minimum, which is pleasure, logic, fear, offer, guarantee. Call now, okay? So that's the bare minimum when you're shooting a video. And again, I cover this separately in how to do videos. So there's the conditions. That's your third tab. Fourth tab is auto injury. If you want to specialize in something like auto injury, there it is right there. Auto injury FAQ. So they have questions about insurance FAQ. The next one, top 7 car injury mistakes. That's just a motivating video, is what that is. And then their injury claim documents. But that's what that tab looks like right there. That's answering their questions there. And then 5 are the patient results. These are the testimonials here. And we talked about the importance of testimonials. My God, I'm telling you. I remember I shot a lot of testimonials for this one client. I was showing him how to do it. And so I was in there and I helped shoot him several. We lined the front page up, right side, inside, outside. I mean, we put them everywhere. And I cannot tell you how many patients, when we asked them, hey, how'd you hear about it? I say, oh, I went to the internet, saw your website, and I like your videos, and I like how you had everybody telling what their experiences were like. I can't tell you how many times I heard that. That's personal. It's the single best thing you can do in marketing, bar none. Having average everyday people saying how you can help them. And that you're good, and again, I covered the basics of testimonials separately. And remember, when you do the testimonials, they should always be gateways. I remember this one chiropractor client, I go to his website, he's not dressed professionally. The good news, he had a video. Bad news, he's not dressed professionally. And he's talking about like asthma or something. It wasn't asthma, but it was some weird somatovisceral problem that he helped, which nobody comes to his website for. Totally wrong content. Not only was it wrong, it made him look bad because it was a paradigm shift. Made him look like a quack is what it made him look like. Meet Dr. Joe. We talked about meet Dr. whoever you are. That's what I say. Instead of, about us, say meet Dr. Joe, meet Dr. John, whatever. Okay. And we talked about earlier the topics that should be in that category. If it's in text, fine, but text is not going to be as good as a video. I mean, you do better to put it in text and then do a video voiceover with Camtasia. You do way better to do that because people would rather watch a video. It's less work than having to read. They'd rather push the button. So we talked about the contact information, all forms of contact, where you have the different pages. You have your basic contact, phone number and address. Another contact is your hours. That's a sublink. Another sublink is the map. And generally, we put the blog under the contact in a sublink. And this is a major, major issue. The single most important thing you can do for a website is blog. Google likes fresh, relevant content. So if you don't have a blog, you're doing one of the worst things you could do to help your website. If you have a blog and you're not using it, you're doing one of the worst things you could do for your website. The single best thing you can do for your website is blog. And I cover the basics of blog and really how to simplify it. Most people don't want to take the time to do this or that or whatever. So I've really simplified a blog to make it unbelievably simple and easy, where it's literally just talking into a digital recorder and saying something about 2 or 3 topics. And it's literally just plugged into your computer, transcribed with Dragon, copied and pasted into a blog. I mean, it's unbelievable how simple we make this stuff. But it is the absolute single best thing. And then remember, we take a blog because it's telling Google. Now, we SEO the blog properly. So I go into this house. By the way, the chiropractic assistant is taught how to do this. I teach the chiropractic assistants how to do the blogs. So very simple to do. And then we connect. Remember, Google likes fresh, relevant content. That's why a blog's so important. But it does have to have the basics of SEO. See, because it's got to be relevant content. Relevant means you gotta have the relevant keywords. And then we will connect the blog to a syndicator like OnlyWire. So every time we blog, that blog not only goes out once, it goes out to 30 different sites. So it literally shakes the heck out of the internet and says, Google, come get me, come find me, come index me, put me at the top. That's what it says. It's the single best thing you could do. You want to push your website up to the top, start blogging. Learn the basics of the blog. Learn the basics of the SEO that we teach. And then start blogging with a syndicator. And boom, just stick with it and it'll just start pushing its way up. Okay, and remember, how important is that? Well, remember, 80% of all the people that click on a website are in the first 5. Generally, when Google shows a page of organic links, there's 10, it gives 10 possible, if that's the default. 80% of the people will pick the first 5. 43% of the people will click on the first link of that page. So that's how important being at the top of the page is for your keyword. Now, there's the opportunity in the footer. So again, do we just want to put crap in the footer? No. I'm coming back around with testimonials. Typically you can have 2 or 3 or 4 columns in the footer. I'm putting testimonials in all 4 columns, all 3 columns, or 2 columns, however many there are. Typically I'll do 3 for size-wise. I'm going to do 3, and then there's going to be more than one video. In other words, each column will have 2, 3, or 4 videos vertically. So if it's 3 columns, and there's 3 columns in the footer, there might be not 3 to 4 videos per column. See? I want that patient to see a lot of people like me and say I'm good and I'm okay. You can call me. Okay. So these are, let's go ahead and see what we got here. Okay. So when we look at the front page of a website, these are all the key factors relative to your website. And then on the next session, we'll specifically go into look at the website, put the pages up, upload the theme, look at the layout of WordPress, and we'll go through each individual category separately and individually to make it unbelievably simple. But this is the importance. So take a look at your site, see if you have the basics in place, and you better have those 4 categories, 5 including testimonials. They better be screaming from above the fold so you don't have to scroll up or down, and it should be just flat out right in front of you. And there should be a video starting to talk to me right away how you're gonna help me with preferably as many of those emotional triggers as possible and the new patient special. Those are the basics of the structure of the layout. We'll go into each one of these individually.